Ah, tax time. Just hearing those two words can make you break out in a cold sweat, right? But what if it didn't have to be that way? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify the entire Australian tax system, from the big picture laws all the way down to lodging your own tax return.
It's kind of like opening a massive jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? You tip all the pieces on the table, and it just looks like a confusing, chaotic mess. Well, that's tax time for so many of us. But here's the thing, once you see the picture on the box, once you know what you're trying to build, finding the right pieces becomes so much easier. And today, we're going to look at that picture together.
Okay, so first things first. Before we even think about touching a calculator or looking at a payslip, we need to understand the rules of the game. Because that's really what the tax system is, a game with a clear set of rules that you can learn to play.
You might be wondering, where do all these rules even come from? Well, believe it or not, it's not just some random mess made up on the spot. It all goes back to a single foundational document, the Australian Constitution. That's the ultimate rulebook for the country, and it's what gives the government the power to collect taxes in the first place. Okay, stick with me here, because this is a great way to think about it. The tax system is basically a sport. You've got the people who make the rules, you've got the league administrators who run the show, and you've got the referees to sort out any arguments. You need all three for the game to work.
So first up, you've got the rule makers. And in our game, that's Parliament. These are the elected officials who actually sit down and write the laws. The big one being the Income Tax Assessment Act. That's the official rule book for everything we're talking about today.
Next, you have the league administrators, and that's the Australian Taxation Office, or the ATO. Think of them as the officials. They don't write the rules, but man, they make sure everybody's playing by them. They're the ones who handle the day-to-day running of the entire system.
And what happens when there's a dispute, or when a rule is a bit unclear? Well, that's where the referees come in. The courts, from the lower tribunals all the way up to the high court, they're the ones who make the final call and interpret what the rulebook actually means in tricky situations.
So when you break it all down, there are really two sources of tax law. You've got the statute law, that's the official rulebook written by Parliament. And then you've got case law. Those are the referees' calls made by the courts. And you really need to understand both to know how the game is truly played.
Right, enough of the high-level stuff. Let's get down to what you really care about, what we all care about, our money. We're going to dive into the absolute core mechanic of your tax return, your taxable income.
Now, this is probably the single most important thing to get your head around. Your taxable income is not the same as your total salary. I'll say that again. It's not your total salary. It's a special figure that the ATO calculates, and that's the number they use to work out how much tax you owe.
And you know what? This whole giant, complex system, it actually boils down to one surprisingly simple formula. If you can understand this, you can understand your tax. Ready?
First up, you take all the money you've earned. Your salary, any bank interest, maybe some dividends, all of it. This is what's called your assessable income.
Then, and this is the fun part, you get to subtract your allowable deductions. These are all the costs you had to pay to earn that income in the first place. This is your secret weapon.
And there it is. What's left over is your taxable income. See? Income in, costs out. The lower you can get that final number, the less tax you're going to pay. It's that straightforward.
So that's the goal, right? Get that taxable income number down. And the way we do that is by getting smart about our deductions. This is the strategy part of the game.
The ATO has what I call the 3 golden rules. If you take away nothing else today, burn these into your brain. 1. You had to have spent the money yourself. 2. The expense has to be directly linked to you earning your income. And 3. You need a record to prove it. Tick those 3 boxes and you're golden.
Okay, so about that third rule, having proof, there is a little exception. You can actually claim up to $300 worth of work-related deductions without receipts. But, and listen up, because this is important, you still have to be able to explain exactly what those costs were if the ATO comes knocking, so you can't just make it up.
Let's look at a super common one. Car expenses. You've basically got 2 choices. There's the easy way, the cents per kilometer method. It's simple, you don't need a logbook. Or you can go the logbook route. Yeah, it's a bit more work up front, but for some people, it can mean a much, much bigger deduction.
And it doesn't stop there. Think about home office expenses, any courses you took for your job, union fees, even a special uniform you have to wear. Heck, even the fee you pay a tax agent to get your return done. That's deductible. The key is to just think through your year and identify those costs.
Okay, you understand the rules of the game. You know how the formula works. You've got your list of deductions. Now for the final step,
putting it all together and lodging your return. And the good news is, the ATO's MyTax system makes this easier than ever.
And honestly, it's basically a 5-step process. You link your MyGov to the ATO, wait a little bit for all your info to pop up automatically, double-check that it's all correct, plug in those deductions we just talked about, and then you just review the final estimate and hit lodge. That's literally it. You can do this.
MyTax is genuinely a game changer. It's free, it's totally secure, and it walks you through everything we've just covered, step by step. It's built to empower you to take control of your own tax affairs.
So there you have it. We've gone from the Australian Constitution all the way down to a simple click on a website. The tax system, it's not some scary monster hiding in the closet. It really is just a puzzle. And now you have the picture on the box. So my question to you is, now that you know how it all works, what's the one thing you're going to do differently this tax year?